Question number 7, Clayton Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Conservation and asks, what action will she take given that 768 people have signed a petition calling for shark cage diving near Stewart Island to be stopped immediately and permanently?
Mr. Speaker.
Order. Order. Honourable Maggie Barry.
Mr. Speaker, as the Minister of Conservation, I will not be taking any action as a result of the petition, but what I will be doing, as I have said from the start, is paying very close attention to the review that DOC now has underway. We've said from the beginning, at the end of the season, we will evaluate it. That process is underway now. I'll be very interested to see what has been happening. There have been no formal complaints. There may well be changes or not as a result of that review. Any changes will be widely circulated and discussed before the start of the next season in December.
Supplementary question, Mr. Speaker.
Supplementary question, Clayton Mitchell.
Given the present compliance measures DOC has put in place to protect the sharks, how can she explain that this season the sharks were still showing evidence of fresh wounds from cages?
Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Maggie Barry.
This member illustrates very clearly why it's important to go with evidence and science-based. I've seen the photographs that have been taken. There has been some injury to a dorsal fin of one shark. That is not an injury that is consistent with shark cage diving. We have paid very close attention because my role in all of this is as the advocate for nature is to look after the safety in the first instance of the sharks. There have been no reported incidents of any damage to sharks.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Order. Order. Point of order, Clayton Mitchell.
I seek leave to table an OIA document dated the 16th of June from the Department of Conservation, providing the observers monitoring reports of the 2 shark cage diving operators, Shark Dive New Zealand and Shark Experience.
Order. Leave us sought to table that particular OIA. Is there any objection? There is none. It can
Question,
be tabled.
Mr. Speaker.
Supplementary question, Clayton Mitchell.
Does the Minister now agree that issuing of permits has done little to protect either the great white sharks or the people of Stewart Island, who are clearly strongly opposed to shark diving operations so near to their homes?
Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Maggie Barry.
As the member either willfully or ignorantly misunderstands constantly, before the permits were put in place, there was no protection whatsoever of sharks or people. Edwards Island is a place which that member doesn't seem to understand, is a place where there are fur seals, and therefore that is a restricted area some 8 kilometres away from any other part where swimming or recreational activities take place. So it is very important to note that the permits protect people.
Order. Is this a point of order?
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order, Richard Prosser.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not sure if you're having the same difficulty, but I'm having trouble even hearing the Minister's lame excuses here.
Well, order. Order. No, I don't need
Never stop talking.
I don't need assistance. If the member would mind having a word with one or two in his own caucus, that would lessen the background noise considerably, and then he would be able to hear the answer. Order. Order. Points of order are heard in silence. Point of order, Chris Hopkins.
There was a lot of noise during that particular answer. But what I would like you to consider, Mr. Speaker, is the beginning of the Minister's answer, where she immediately insulted the questioner, which is going to lead to disorder in the House.
That's a very poor point, very fair point. The way the question was answered was not helpful to the order of the House. It is capable of the Minister to give a more direct answer without deliberately attacking any member in this House, and I'd be grateful if she'd do that in the future. But that is still no excuse for the level of noise that was coming. I'm on my feet, Mr. Ron Mark. That is still no excuse for the level of interjection that was coming, making it very difficult for Mr. Prosser to actually hear the answer that was given.
Point of order.
I've finished with that matter.
I understand that. This is something
a fresh point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for your indulgence. But it is...
Order. This is, hopefully, going to be a fresh point of order.
And you're quite right, sir. It is no excuse, but that does inflame disorder.
Order. The member will resume his seat immediately. He's very lucky that I'm allowing him to stay. I asked him whether it's a fresh point of order. It added no contribution of any value whatsoever, and the member... Order! The member has a consistent habit of doing it. My patience will not last much longer with that member if he continues to do it. Question... Question number 8, Ian Lees-Galloway.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Workplace Relations and Safety and asks,